Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about what if Belle was, or at least had the ability to summon heroic spirits. So in the last video we talked about how, I'm just going to be skipping some of the stuff, like for example how he actually got there, but either way, um, we're going to be going to like a few years later, and how he was able to basically summon heroic spirits. Well, the reason why he's able to do that is because, he's fused with two different heroic spirits, or at least, heroic spirit candidates, but they couldn't be summoned. In this case, one of them was Richly Lapochly, aka the god of the sun, or at least, the current sun in I guess you can say the fourth or fifth, in the fifth or fourth, world or whatever you want to call it. It's been a long time since I actually researched about, Aztec mythology, by the way. So, yeah, that is why he was pretty good at swordsmanship in the first place. And not only that, he's also fused with another heroic spirit, aka second to last one, aka Aleister Crowley, aka the most famous occultist. Otherwise, he's also, considered as both a caster and probably also maybe-ish to a ruler. It's still depending. And by the way, um, he's also quite powerful. Even when he was 10 at the time, he basically destroyed an entire, nest of like monsters without any, problem. Yeah, and that is why he was given, some praise for that. And he's even sort of cocky. But not as cocky as, like, for example, Bet. Maybe about, like, um, just imagine, as cocky as, like, as Inos Voldagon, but, not really that mean. So, one day after his grandfather's death, he would basically go on his merry way, basically doing some of his stuff. But for some odd reason, he would start being in some sort of trance, as he would start going into the nearby forest and would start pricking his finger. After doing so, he would start making a little symbol out of his blood. And after doing so, this symbol would resemble some sort of summoning circle, and after doing that, he would start chanting. And after the chant, he would summon three different heroic spirits, and these are Archer, aka Emiya Alter. Then there's Saber, otherwise known as his Burgeist, or Burgist. And finally, Lancer, aka Melusine. And by the way, I'm pretty disappointing in all of you guys. You're like instantly disappointed in you guys because all of you decided to go for, instead of like, Babylon Sith, aka the final member of the Fairy Knights, which is Burgeist and also Melusine's, team. Instead, you decided to go for Emiya Alter. I mean, I'm not really mad about it, but I'm pretty disappointed in you guys to basically, break up the trio by basically adding in, basically, edgier Emiya over there. But still, either way, after getting out of that trance and seeing, them, you would basically ask, who the hell are you? And they would say that they're, his servants, and after doing so, Belle would basically, just stop and just basically tell them that they're allowed to basically, go to his house for now, to basically stay at. And after doing so, they would basically arrive at his house to basically, stay at. And after doing so, they would finally arrive at their cabin, and Belle would basically tell them that, they're allowed to do whatever they want, just as long as they don't, disturb him and maybe the village. And after doing so, it was finally nighttime, as Belle would basically tell all of them that he's going to be getting, dinner ready. But they would also explain that they don't really have, they don't really need to eat. I mean, they do it just for pleasure, but either way, as Belle was told of this, Belle would decide to, leave, as when he was about to leave, apparently Emiya wants to go with him, mostly because he wants to check out, or at least, try out his cooking skills once again, to basically, check if he's, getting a little bit old. And after doing so, Belle and Emiya would start going into the, market nearby to basically eat. And I'm sorry for the background noise because it's currently raining. I seriously hate when it's Christmas. Because when it's Christmas, I literally live in the specific ring of fire. aka, around the Philippines, or at least, near Asia right now. And because of this, instead of snow, I get this bullshit. Yeah, that is why I absolutely hate Christmas at this time. Or at least sometimes. I mean, at the time when I was a kid, I thought, oh, yay, presents. But now it's just, yeah, disappointment. Mostly because of the rain. I fucking hate rain most of the time. So, after, getting the ingredients for dinner with, Emiya, they would arrive back and would start, cooking dinner, which Emiya would do. After making it, it would be some sort of stew, as he would explain, aka Emiya, would explain that it was called curry. And after eating it, you would thought it was pretty spicy but also quite flavorful. And after finishing it, Belle would basically tell everybody that they're gonna be going to sleep and preparing for tomorrow to basically leave, this village. And after doing so, Belle and, his servants would basically get ready and would basically, go to sleep. While both, both of the Fahrenheit, specifically, Melusine and Berggeist would decide to sit on the floor on a, I guess you could say like a extra, mattress. And as for Emiya decided to sleep on the couch. Even though hero spirits don't really mean to sleep, they just do it to just waste time, or just a time waster sort of, or a way to basically pass the time. And after doing so, all of them would basically fall asleep. So yeah, so that is basically what happened last episode. And so let's talk about what happens next. So, after Belle wakes up early in the morning, Belle and the rest of his heroic spirits would start packing all of his things. As Belle is basically being helped by Burgess and, Emiya. As for Melusine would just, stay in the, I guess you can say, like the carriage, because even though she's strong, she's basically just a little girl, the cutest little girl. And you can't tell me otherwise, she's best daughter. So, after a while, basically grabbing all of the things there, including, some of his, old stuff, like for example, his weapons, swords, and armor that he was planning to bring when he was finally at, Aurario, as after doing so, they would start going onto the horse. After getting onto the horse, they would start getting ready to leave, as they would start moving through the village, as several of the people would wake up and would see him basically going to Aurario, as they would say goodbye to him, saying goodbye, because they absolutely love him, and they're pretty sad that he's basically leaving. And so, Belle and the rest of his crew would basically go to Aurario, even though it's going to take pretty long. So, after a while, basically, riding across, the world of Damanchi, they would slowly, start hearing about something. Apparently, while they were basically resting, a few travelers have been visiting them. Mostly, people that were also traveling to nearby cities. Apparently, they keep telling them about, something about this large monster that's been terrorizing, a nearby village. And apparently, that nearby village is also, one of the, main landmarks, sort of, where, Arario is located. And after being told this, they would start, going towards, that specific city. Apparently, that city was destroyed many years ago, and it became a large refugee, sort of place. Not really, it's more like a ghost town. And that ghost town is now being occupied by a large monster, and many people started avoiding that place. But after Belle heard this, Belle would decided to, decide to maybe, take down the monster there. Mostly because he's pretty cocky, and would basically say to them that, and I quote, would obviously beat that thing. I mean, trust me, I can obviously take down the thing without any ease. I mean, with super ease, he would say. And after being told of this, well, the people would just start thinking that he's pretty cocky. Unbeknownst to them, oh boy, they were wrong. He has the power to back that up. And after being told of this, Belle would basically start, leaving with the rest of his gang. After arriving at the so-called, monster hideout, they would basically step down of their horse, as Belle would basically tell all of them to basically get ready in case if there's going to be a fight. As Belle would say this, wait, what about your weapon, Emiya? As Emiya would say this, oh yeah, my weapons are called guns. Have you heard of them? As Belle would say this, no, actually, may I ask if you can make me one? As he would say this, sure, but later for now. After being told of this, they would start going around the area. As they would start feeling, something, weird. They would not sense any monsters nearby. As while they were basically, going around, Melusine would say this, Belle. As Belle would say this, what is it, Melusine? As Melusine would say this, oh, apparently some monsters have been, avoiding this place. And it seems that no monsters are here. In fact, they seem to be almost avoiding this place. As Belle would say this, weird, he would say, as he would start grabbing his sword, which oddly looks like a much more fancier version of, how do I say this? Yeah, a much more fancier version of Heracles' weapon, aka, 9 lives, or at least I think that's supposed to be the name of his weapon, but I'm still not sure. Um, just imagine a much more fancier version of it, as in, it's made of metal instead of stone, and yeah, it has a big gem in the bottom. I'm not going to be showing you the full design of his, like, the full design of his, look, but, maybe until later in the story. So, as Belle is basically going around the place, he would see, a large church nearby. Not the church where Miss, Shortstack over there is basically there, like, basically living at. No. It's instead a broken down one. Even more broken, like, almost broken down, similar to, to where Hestia basically lives. And if you're wondering, maybe I'll let Belle basically decide to join the Hestia Familia, but it's still depending. I'm gonna be making a poll later, after I finish this video. If you want, just vote on that, and yeah, if you decide to go for, Hestia or Loki, then, I don't know. I'll let him join those specific familias then. So, we currently go back to Belle. As Belle was basically, going towards that specific, area, as Emiya would say this. Belle. As Belle would say this. What is it? As, after saying that, he would say this. Get down. After hearing this, Belle would say this. Why? As he would say this. Just get down and start moving away from it. Or, the church. After being told as this, Belle would basically decide to, get away from the place. Or at least get away from, that specific area. As he would say this. Now, let's try this out, he would say. As he would start aiming his gun, as he would say this. I am the bone of my sword. Now, as I pray. As he would fire off his gun, as a bullet would basically, start flying towards the area. As he would say, unlimited, lost works. After saying that, nothing happens. Until they heard a large scream. As the entire, area, specifically, the entire area where it used to be the church is now destroyed. As you would see a large monster that resembles like a gorilla, but with bat-like wings and glowing blood-red eyes with sharp teeth, with a large-ass mouth. As he would start, beating his chest, screaming out like a complete maniac, as he would start charging towards Belle, as Belle would say this, I got this, as Belle would basically grab his sword, as he would charge towards the thing, as he would slam his sword into its face. As, when it did, he would basically create a large shockwave, as Belle, after doing that, he would basically, jump away, and would basically, grab 2 swords. Each of them glowing a purplish color, as he would say this. Now let's check this out. As Belle would say this. As, he would start, creating a little bit of, like, weird looking energy, which is purple. As he would say this. As he would say, now face the burning flames of the sun, for daring to stand before me. After saying that, he would start creating slashes of fire, which almost seemed to be almost purplish, but now turning blood red, as it would explode on their faces, destroying them in an instant, turning them into nothing more than dust. After doing so, Bell would say this. Huh, weak, he would say, as the monster would reappear once again, but without his arms, as he would say, huh, you're stronger than you look, he would say, as he would grab his large-ass broadsword, which resembles, you know, 9 lives, as he would charge towards him, as he would say this, take this, as he would slash at it. As, after doing so, it would cut off his head and instantly destroy it. After doing so, it would start disappearing, turning into dust, as a weird-looking crystal would basically appear, as one of them would say this, Bell? As one of them would say this, specifically Bell. Bell. As Bell would say this, what is it, Berggeist? As Berggeist would say this, what is that crystal there? As he would say this, oh, that's a monster crystal. We can sell it for Valis. As she would say this, oh, that's cool. After hearing this, one of them would say this, specifically, Melusine. As Melusine would say this, so monsters can turn into crystals after you die? As Bell would say this, technically, yes. After being told of this, she would say this, huh, didn't know that. As Bell would say this, anyway, we should probably get some sleep. After all, that was pretty much hard. Or at least, for me at least. He would say, as after, a bit of stretching, he would say this, anyway guys, let's get some sleep. After being told of this, they would start, preparing their camp, as their horse over there would basically, just lay down for now. As Bell would say this, so, one of you are going to be, acting as like a lookout, in case of like something happening. You will go first, Melusine, as Melusine would say this. I'm okay with it, after all, we don't really need to go to sleep. As for you guys, you can do whatever you want, she would say, as, he would say this, specifically, Emiya, sure then. And as for Burga, she would say this, fine then, she would say, as, Bell would decide to get some sleep as well, as all of them would basically fall asleep, except for Melusine, because remember, she's basically the lookout. A few minutes later, not really a few minutes later, but more like 3 hours later, it's finally, Burgeist's turn, and then Emiya, after 3 hours. Then it repeats, except for Bell, because Bell is basically the only one that needs to sleep, while the others don't really need to sleep all that much. And after doing so, they would all wake up, as after waking up, they would start, packing all of their things, as they would start leaving the old town. After doing so, they would start, going towards, another, village, but this time not deserted. This time, it seems to be a normal village somewhat, with a few people there. In fact, it seems to be quite normal, but, the most unnormal thing about it is almost all of them were either elves, half-elves, or any other race besides humans. As a few people there were basically looking at Bell, and a few of the people thinking they're definitely not, human at all, but they sort of, ignore it because they're not human, they just ignore them. Or at least, just acknowledge them. Not really. As while Bell and the rest of the guys were there, they would start moving towards, a little tavern nearby. As Bell would basically ask for the receptionist, as the receptionist would say this, ah, welcome, and I'm guessing you're not human as well. As Bell would say this, yeah, sort of. I mean, my dad or grandfather told me that I'm pretty special, I guess. As he would say this, I guess you could say that. Anyway, if you're looking for a room, we got some. By the way, are you living with, all 3 of them? I mean, all 4 of you, I guess? Or, as Bo would say this, yeah, they're sort of like my friends. As, one of them would say this, I guess so, said Burgess. As he would say this, oh, cool then. Here. As he would basically be given a room key, as Bo would say this, then here. After giving some of the values to him, he would say this, ah, thank you, my man. Anyway, you can do whatever you want now. Now, just go over there, and, yeah. So, after being told so, Belle and the rest of the gang would decide to go and stay at the room. As for Belle decides to get some more sleep, mostly because he's, pretty bored at the time. After doing so, everybody would start, just doing their own thing. Like, for example, Burgess would decide to just stay in the room, mostly doing nothing, but I guess, she would decide to, go and grab a book and basically start reading it. As for Melusine would decide to explore the town. As for Emiya decides to, grab some ingredients to make some food later. So, as after a while basically waiting, it's finally lunchtime, as Belle would wake up to the smell of something good. As after walking, downstairs, you would see Emiya basically cooking something. Specifically, some simple steak, which was pretty impressive. It's definitely not like, from their world's, type of like cooking. Instead, it's actually from modern day, because remember, Emiya was from modern day, or at least sort of modern day, like, 2004, like 2014, or sort of. At least I think so. I can't remember all of the Fate lore all that much, but let's just say he's from 2014. Yeah, 2014. Let's just say that. Wait for a second. Sorry about that. As currently Belle would basically smell the smell of that beautiful barbecue that Emmy is making, he would walk downstairs, and as for the other two, they would also walk downstairs to basically try out Emiya's delicious feast. As Emiya would say this, "Ah, you're finally here." After saying that, wait for a second. Got something to do. Sorry about that. As we currently see, Belle basically after smelling the delicious, feast that Emiya is making, Emiya would basically, see them as, all of them would say, "Whoa, what is that smell?" As one of them would say this, "Yeah, it smells so good," said, Melusine. As Belle would say this, "Yeah, I can't believe I ever smelled something so good before." As, wait for a second. As Emiya would say this, "Ah, thank you. By the way, here, grab a plate." As Belle would be given some kebabs. As Belle would say this, "Oh, it smells so good," he would say. As he would start biting off, a bits of some of the, let's just say, some of the meat and also some of the, some of the vegetables, as he would say this. So good. As for, both Melusine and also, Burgeist would say, "Yeah, it's so good. You're pretty good, Emiya." As Emiya would say this, "Why, thank you. I mean, back in my day, I actually do a lot of cooking, mostly for my aunts, let's just say that." As Bo would say this, "Huh, I didn't know that." As he would say this, "Yeah, good old days, I guess you can say." After saying that, Belle would say this, "Huh, I guess so. Anyway, we're gonna be leaving soon, so be ready. Maybe about 3 days." As he would say this, "Pretty much some good time to basically restock on food." As Belle would say this, "Yeah, I guess so." After saying that, they would basically, finish eating and would decide to basically, get some sleep. The next day, sorry about that. And so we basically see Belle basically with everybody basically going around the little village. While they're there, they would basically, get some souvenirs and also get, some food rations. While they were going through the city, they would hear the sound of fighting. After hearing that, Belle would basically look over, as for his servants, they would also look over as well. As they would see a person fighting another person, specifically a boy-ish, at least he thinks so, until he realizes that girl was actually wearing a skirt. He seems, or she seems to have, silver hair and also has, wait for a second. The girl seems to have silver hair and, silver haired, or at least silver like wolf ears and tail. She also seems to have a weird looking tattoo on her face. Seems to resemble a bluish lightning bolt. Her eyes were somewhat brownish, or at least he thinks it's brown. Then she also seems to be wearing a black coat with a, with a white, fur collar. She also seems to be wearing some gauntlets on her, on her wrists and, some simple, silver metal boots. As after seeing her, she seems to be fighting with a man, specifically another, boyish, similar to, a similar boyish figure. He seems to have, how do I say this? He seems to have bear-like ears and a large figure. Actually, he almost seems to be similar to a bodybuilder with a big pot belly. He also seems to be wielding a large hammer and seems to have brownish hair and bluish eyes, as you would say this. Oh, come on! Leave that stupid familiar. Besides, I'm better than those guys, and I think my god is definitely going to be pretty happy for you to basically join us. As she would say this. No way. Leave me alone, and I would rather be left alone. And besides, you're not even worthy to be in my presence. As he would say this. Oh, you high and mighty bitch. Just because you're a part of the Loki-philia, the Loki-familia doesn't mean that you're going to be, all powerful and all that sort of shit, he would say. As when he heard that, specifically Emiya would say this. Wait, Loki as in the trickster god? As Belle would say this. You mean trickster goddess? As after hearing that, he would say, excuse me, goddess? As he would say this. Yeah, gods basically live among us, aka, And I swear to God, do not make Among Us jokes, I swear to God! As we basically, after hearing this, he would say this. What do you mean? As Belle would explain, after Tenkai was basically, was discovered, apparently the gods and goddesses decided to come to Earth to basically learn about the earthly pleasures, and basically decide to create familias, aka, basically just like overpowered guilds. Or at least somewhat overpowered. I mean, some gods basically don't really have guild type things, like for example, adventurers or something of that sort. But either way, they basically act as like, a sort of midpoint, and basically people that join them become, familia members, aka, familias. And they basically act as like, a gang, sort of, but not as bad. So after explaining a little bit, he would say this. I see. So, they're gods and goddesses, he would start to think. As he would say this. I hope they're not as annoying as other gods. As one of them would say this, specifically Burgeist. So, Belle, should we help her? Or as Belle would say this. I think we should, he would say. After grabbing two of his swords, he would say this. Hey, you! The big pot belly over there. After saying that, he would say this. What did you just say? As he would say this. Well, I mean, they're pretty much harassing the girl, so it's my obligation to basically stop you. After hearing that, he would say this. Don't make me laugh, short sack. After, grabbing his hammer, he would say this. I'll crush you like a damn tomato. After saying that, Belle would basically, jump out of the way from his strike, as Belle would say this. Sorry, but I'm not that weak. After saying that, he would grab two of his swords, as he would rush towards him at lightning fast speeds. As after doing so, he would almost disappear like he teleported, as he would basically be behind them. As after sheathing his swords, his body would start being torn apart like instantly, as he would say, what in the... After doing so, he would have several scars across his body as he would fall to the ground. After doing so, his hammer would just be left. As Belle would say this. Well, that was easy. Not even standing a chance between me and my... Actually, never mind, he would say. As after saying that to himself, he would basically look towards the girl, as he would say this. Are you okay? As she would say this. I didn't really need your help anyway, she would say. As Belle would say this. Cocky. As she would say this. Whatever. And stay out of my way. After all, I am a part of the Loki familia. As Belle would say this. Fine, you don't really mean to be that mean. As she would say this. Whatever. I didn't really need your help anyway, she would say. And after doing so, she would leave, as a few people would arrive, saying, have you seen... hey girl,
with wolf ears in the tail, with silver hair and as Bo would say this, with brownish eyes and wearing a collar. I meant you know a a grayish jacket with with a silver fur collar, as he would say this. Yeah, her, uh, as he would say this. Oh, they're that way. I meant she's that way. As you would say this. Thanks. Come on, guys. We should follow her immediately. As everybody from at least he thinks it's probably from the Loki family. Loki family would start following her, or at least following her in her direction. And after doing so, they would basically leave. As Belle would say this. Huh. I guess that's the Loki familia. A bit weird. I thought they were going to be more high class than that. But either way, he would basically look back at his team. As Belle would say this. Hey guys! As everybody would just look towards Belle, as one of them would say this, specifically Burgeist. What is it, Belle? As Belle would say this. Let's probably, go back to our, to the inn. I mean, I think we have enough, fun for today. As they would say this. Yeah, we should. And after, saying that, they would start leaving, going back to the, to the, I guess you can say, the sort of like, their sort of home for now. And after doing so, they would basically fall asleep. So yeah, I'm gonna be ending this episode right off here because, I'm still pretty much tired, and also, my throat is pretty much hurting at this point now. I should definitely try and work on that. Anyway, so I'm gonna be ending this episode right off here, and so I hope you liked the video, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!